is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon for Saturday, May 7th, 2022. I'm Kevin Smith, and in your headlines today, Exxon to determine fate of Guyana's gas master plan, says Vice President Jagdeo. Management confirms no supply of electricity from Giftland to GPL for almost a year. Guyana's new oil fund now represents more than 10% of global discoveries. GCOM to hold internal discussion on elections, law reform. Opposition says submission must represent views of all parties. Man arms himself with cutlass to defend off bicycle bandits, and abusive businessman struggles to find legal representation. Meanwhile, police commander targeting youths at community level to reduce crime and to provide environment to foster skills training. Meanwhile, local non-profit celebrates 6 years of helping nation's athletes and less fortunate, helping mom with a disability finish home before May eviction. And businessman dies in quarantine accident. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Need an easy Mother's Day gift that mom will love? Gift her the all-new DL4 for only $12,000 with a bigger display, better camera, and the best apps. Plus, get a free 30-day Prime bundle with purchase. Be mom's hero this Mother's Day. Visit a Digicel store near you. Digicel, better together.
And now for the news in detail. Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo recently disclosed that Guyana's gas reserve currently totals 16 trillion cubic feet. In light of this, he believes there is merit to the advice offered by industry experts that the country would be wise to develop a gas master plan. The government's oil boss was keen to note, however, that such a plan hinges on how much of the gas reserve ExxonMobil Guyana can make available for use. The Vice President indicated that the government is of the firm conviction that the gas resource can be as lucrative as the oil component of Exxon's operations. He stressed, however, that a lot hinges on the availability of the gas and not being carried away by the size of the reserve. In the meantime, Jagdeo said the government intends to advance its gas-to-power project, which will utilize a 12-inch pipeline and bring a maximum of 130 million cubic feet of gas per day. He said a commitment has been received from Exxon for 50 million standard cubic feet per day, but work is ongoing to increase this to 10 million cubic feet. In other news, for almost a year now, Giftland has been unable to provide electricity to GPL's grid. Management of Giftland confirmed on Friday that the supply of power to GPL's grid stopped since June 29, 2021. CEO of Giftland, Devendra Dionarine, explained that there was an issue with the alternator which caused the transmission system to go down. Dionarine explained that the problem with the alternator surfaced a few weeks after the damaged turbocharger was rectified last year. According to the CEO, the system went down for a few months between December 2020 and March 2021, but was up and running again until June 2021. This is despite the company having an active power purchasing agreement in place with GPL to supply electricity to mainly communities located on the lower east coast of Demerara. The CEO claimed, however, that while the purchase agreement is still in force, Giftland only gets paid for the power it supplies. In other news, Guyana's most recent oil discoveries in the lucrative Stabroek Block have significantly increased the country's recoverable oil equivalent barrels, so much so that its fortunes represent more than 10% of all global finds since 2015. This was specifically outlined in ExxonMobil's Energy Factor blog, which was authored by Exxon's head of upstream oil and gas, Liam Malan. The article stated that Guyana's Baralai 1, Patwa 1, and Lukanani 1 discoveries took the country's recoverable oil to nearly 11 billion barrels. He said, too, that the company identifies its strengths in scale, advanced technologies, integration, operations excellence, and highly skilled people as the enabler of its success in the country. These strengths, it was noted, have also positioned the company to lead in the energy transition initiative. And moving on, GCOM opposition commissioners are looking for full discussions to be held regarding the reform of the Representation of the People's Act, or the RPA, the legislation that deals directly with elections in the country. Despite recent utterances by Vice President Jagdeo that the government had received most of its contributions on a draft RPA from civil society, GECOM Commissioner Vincent Alexander has made it clear that whatever was presented to the government did not properly reflect the views of all parties. Alexander said that opposition commissioners had expressed dissatisfaction when GECOM chairwoman Claudette Singh announced that she had made submissions to the government on behalf of the elections body. The commissioner said that he as well as affiliate commissioners submitted preliminary contributions on the matter involving the elections reform law. And moving on, Devanand Singh, the Kitty businessman charged on April 1st with the brutal assault of a female relative, is struggling to find a lawyer to represent him in court. On Thursday, a signed letter from attorney-at-law Bernard De Silva to Magistrate Lirondelli surfaced on the various social media platforms, and its contents revealed that he no longer wants to be associated with the case. De Silva pointed out in the letter that he had already notified Singh that he will no longer be his lawyer. According to information, De Silva is the second lawyer that refused to defend Singh in a case that went viral on social media. Singh was caught on camera cuffing, slapping and stomping a female relative to the ground in the presence of his employees at his clothing store, Brands To Go, located in Kitty, Georgetown. The assault reportedly took place on March 25th, but it was not until the victim decided to share her story publicly that Singh really came under the spotlight for his wrongful actions. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and at 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We will resume after the break. Security cameras on Thursday captured a man using a cutlass to fend off 4 bicycle bandits who ambushed him along a street in Albertown, Georgetown. The footage even showed that one of the man's attackers appeared to be armed with a handgun. He was attacked by a gang of delinquents just after 6 hours on Thursday. CCTV cameras from nearby buildings captured the gang of 4 men on bicycles patrolling the street. They made a few circles and then zeroed in on a target, a man dressed in short denim jeans and a black jersey. He was also riding a bicycle. As they closed in, one of them drew an object from his waist that appeared to be a handgun, but the victim quickly jumped off his bike and armed himself with a huge cutlass that was strapped to the bar. He let go of his bicycle and advanced towards them with his cutlass ready to defend himself. Upon seeing this, the bandit armed with a gun put it back in his waist and rode off with the others. And now let's tell you, targeting youths for skills training in communities that fall under the purview of Region 4, A Division, is a priority for Regional Division Commander Simon McBean. The commander is of the firm conviction that such an approach would go a far way in keeping them from being ensnared by a life of crime. Speaking on this approach to crime fighting recently, McBean said his division is already targeting the youths mainly from ages 9 to 24. To realize this skills training goal, he said there are currently 7 youth groups that are working along with the police force. The intention, he related, is to create scout groups in order to direct the youths away from criminal activities. And in other news, a motorcycle enthusiast is now dead following a head-on collision with an intoxicated female driver. Dead is 41-year-old Rajendra Kadaru, called Andy, of Albion, Quarantine, Berbice. The driver of the car has been identified as 35-year-old Kamwati Mangar Karpan, called Pamela. We were informed that the incident occurred at approximately 5 hours on May 6th on the Nig Public Road. Karpan was heading east along the northern side of the public road, allegedly in an intoxicated state, when she turned in the southeastern direction and into the path of Kadaru, who was heading west along the southern side of the road. The motorcyclist, who was not wearing a helmet at the time and who was reportedly proceeding at a fast rate, crashed into the left side bumper of the car, ripping it apart. The purpose of life is not only to be happy, it is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. This quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, a famous American philosopher and abolitionist, perfectly characterizes the work and passion of the Guyana Committee of Services. The non-profit since coming into existence in 2016 and led by a group of unselfish and hard-working friends, has hosted numerous fundraising events to lighten the burden faced by many citizens today. This month, the organization celebrates 6 years of being utterly devoted to helping others. To commemorate the occasion, the organization will be hosting several events this month. And to wrap things up, let's tell you that on Thursday, the United States Food and Drugs Administration issued a new recommendation that limits who can use the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine due to a rare but serious risk of blood clots. The FDA, in its release, stated that the vaccine should only be given to individuals 18 years of age and older for whom other authorized or approved COVID-19 vaccines are not accessible or clinically appropriate, and to individuals 18 years of age and older who elect to receive the vaccine. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony noted yesterday that persons in Guyana who took the vaccine should not panic. The minister explained that cases of blood clotting in the U.S. were first detected in 2021, and because of the FDA had put a pause on the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at the time. And as usual, we wrap things up with the page 7 of the Kaieteur News, dedicated to bluntness. Government fears the independent press. It has been more than a year since Kaieteur has requested an interview with Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo to face serious and pertinent questions about Guyana's oil and gas sector. But he remains evasive. Natural Resources Minister Vikram Bharat, who is responsible for some aspects of oil and gas, also avoids the media like a slippery eel. He has not held a press conference with the independent press since his appointment. As for President Irfan Ali, he himself failed to meet regularly with the press by way of cabinet briefings and has not uttered a word about this deteriorating level of engagement. The only thing that is apparent here is the government's fear of interrogation, a fear that stinks to the high heavens as it allows Exxon to fleece us of our oil resources in broad daylight. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8255.